and that is where the Corolla, the hybrid version, really comes into play. It kind of calms and soothes you, and it almost makes you just want to drive slow and smoothly and cautiously, which is really nice. Instead of rushing around in something like a Golf, you can just relax and chill in this. Hello and welcome back to the DoneDeal YouTube channel. Today we're reviewing a car that hasn't been on the scene in over 10 years, however it has made an absolutely spectacular comeback. It is the Toyota Corolla, and in my opinion it looks fantastic. Now, the Corolla first ever initially launched on the scene in 1966, and according to my grandparents it was fantastic. They actually owned two of them. Now fast forward to 2019 and it's back. And it's back in a hybrid version. Before we go on to engines and things like that, I want to talk about its competitors, which are the Ford Focus, the Volkswagen Golf and the Kia Ceed, which we have all reviewed previously on the channel. Now, the prices for the Corolla are similar again, starting around the mid-20s, depending on what kind of engines you go for. However, the hybrid thing does intrigue me, as normally I don't really see the whole point in hybrid. I think you should go electric, or you should go for the old-fashioned petrol or diesel. However, it might suit certain people. From the rear, it looks amazing, and I'm definitely noticing a little bit of Lexus influence in there. Now, what's not amazing is the boot capacity. So it's only 361 litres, which is less than the Golf, than the Focus, and even than the Kia Ceed. This one's even less. This is only 313 litres, because it has got batteries in here as it's a hybrid, and so it eats up into the space. Now, the good thing is there's quite a bit of utility. There's various tethering points over here and even shopping hooks. Now, I've never actually used any of these, and I don't know if anyone does, but we always talk about them. Now, unfortunately under here there's actually no spare wheel, which is a bit of a shame, but there's just no space. And you have a little bit of storage, but nothing crazy. The other thing is there is an enormous load lip, which is a bit of a shame. So things are not starting great when it comes to boot space, but in the rear things start to look good. In the back, the first topic I want to discuss is the seats, because they may not look very comfortable, but actually when you sit in them, you can envision yourself on a long journey. What's more is there's nice knee room, however, headspace is compromised, and I think that's because it doesn't really have that boxy shape that something like a Volkswagen Golf would have. In terms of other creature comforts, well, you've got an armrest if there's only two of you traveling, with two big drink holders. There's actually 4 drink holders in this car, as there's a nice size one in the door cards. So if there's 2 of you, you can have 2 drinks each. It's a random fact, but it is nice to know. Other creature comforts are this little bit of storage behind the passenger seat, another bit of storage right here in the center console. Unfortunately though, there is no storage behind the driver's seat. Next up is ISOFIX points, so if you've got child seats or baby seats, they are easily accessible. However, these covers, if you do have young toddler kids, are probably going to get lost. One last thing that I love about the Corolla is that the windows open the whole way down, which is gonna definitely be a big hit with the kids. Now, as I sit into the driver's seat, the first thing I notice is it is substantially drier in here than it is out there. But that's Ireland. What about the Corolla? Well, it's sprucing things up here. So you have a bit of sporty seats, and you have the red trim, which is an added extra, and you get a standard on the Luma Sport, which starts around 29 or 30,000 euros. In terms of storage, well, you've got a section up here, you've got 2 cup holders here and here, you've got another cup holder there. I will say the door cards are a little bit smaller than your normal car. Now, you've got more storage in here in the center console and quite a large glove box. However, it's a bit weird, because basically if you try to open it, it's like, no, I'm not opening, I'm opening at my own speed. So you just gotta let it be, and it opens elegantly. In terms of where everything feels, well, you've got loads of maneuverability as always in the seats and the steering wheel. There is one cool feature, and that is this over here. So like a normal seat with a wheel, that can be a lot of effort, and not in the Corolla. You just pull this lever and you go flat. It reminds me of my very first car, which was a Subaru, and it had seats like that. It's obviously a Japanese thing, which I really like. Next up is the infotainment system. The infotainment system itself, Well, if you're buying a hybrid Toyota, the chances are you're a little bit technology inclined, and unfortunately this probably will disappoint as it's very, very basic. But on the upside, if you're a little bit older or a little bit less interested in technology, this is perfect for you as it's very simple, very intuitive. All the buttons are where they should be, so you've got your home button, your menu button, your audio button, your maps button, you've got a knob for your volume. It's all very, very easy to use. One massive drawback though is it doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto on any trim level, which is such a shame, as if you get used to driving with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you cannot live without it. Now flip over to the dials in front of the driver and you have a bit of a digital dash, which is really nice. You can go through all the different settings, you can see what speed you're at, the radio, all of that comes up directly in front of you, which helps to avoid taking your eyes off the road to look at the screen here. The other thing I want to mention is actually the steering wheel. When I first saw photos of the Corolla and I saw the interior, I wasn't a fan of the steering wheel. I thought it looked a bit old-fashioned, almost like it was out of a Toyota from 2002 or 2003. However, when you actually sit into the car and you touch and feel it, it is actually really nice. And it's a little bit bigger, however, I kind of like it. Now, for the most critical part of any review, how does the Corolla drive? Well, let's start her up. Nothing actually happens, and that's because the electrical side of things are all in the lower range in terms of speed. So when we pull off, all you get is that kind of slow and smooth electrical current. And that's one thing I think I don't talk about enough in reviews, is I speak about practicality, functionality, miles per gallon, but I rarely discuss how a car makes you feel when you drive it. And that is where the Corolla, the hybrid version, really comes into play. It kind of calms and soothes you, and it almost makes you just want to drive slow and smoothly and cautiously, which is really nice. Instead of rushing around in something like a Golf, you can just relax and chill in this. And that brings me into the engine. So there's 3 different engines available. There's a 1.2 litre petrol, completely petrol, and that's for anyone who's old school and isn't interested in any sort of modern technology like hybrid. Then there's a 1.8 litre, which is this one, which, being honest, is the perfect car. And then there's a 2 litre one, which comes with 177 brake horsepower and is also hybrid. Probably overpowered, but maybe matches something like a Golf GTD, for example. Now, in terms of fuel efficiency, well, the claimed average is about 3.6 litres per 100 kilometres, which sounds exceptional. However, I'm going to go ahead and say that is nearly impossible. And also, it depends on your driving, because if you're driving this around the city, you will actually get a lot more miles per gallon than on the motorway, as you'll be driving in fully electric mode. So, all in all, it's very nice to drive, it's smooth, and it's an absolute delight, to be completely honest. And after driving this for a day or two, you really do start to settle into almost a greener, more, I don't know, relaxed mind frame. There is a particular type of person's lifestyle who it fits fantastically. Now, if you think about who drives the most, who spends the most time on the roads, it is taxi drivers. And so I always take the liberty of asking a taxi driver why they chose whatever car it is they're driving, because the chances are they have spent so much time researching and figuring out what is best for them. And lately I've been in a few Toyota Prius taxis. Now the Prius is virtually the same car as this. And I have to ask them, why did you go for hybrid over a diesel? Because everyone knows diesel are the most economical. Now the reason they've chosen the hybrid is because a lot of their driving, or the vast majority of their driving, is around town, picking up people, particularly, I don't know, in the city centre. And they said around the city centre, hybrid is by far the best. There is a massive trade-off whenever they do an airport run and they have to drive on the M50, but on the city centre, or in the city centre, hybrid is the best. And that is why this car certainly suits anyone who likes to do kind of runarounds or driving in the city. The next part of the review is where we discuss 3 of our favourite and least favourite things about the Toyota Corolla. So, number 1 is the boot section. In terms of things I don't really love, and the reason being is it is quite small, as we discussed. The entry is quite small, and all in all I feel like it's slacking compared to the competitors like the Kia Ceed, or the Ford Focus, or even the Volkswagen Golf. Number 2 is this infotainment system here, because as standard it doesn't come with a touchscreen. It's 2019, we need touchscreens in every single car, and that leads me into number 3, which is when you put it into reverse. Although you have a reversing camera as standard on all models, it doesn't actually come with reversing sensors, which I swear on my life, earlier on today in a car park I nearly reversed into a Tesla because I could see it, but I couldn't see how far it was away from me, and that would have been an absolute disaster. So that is a bit of a shame. Number 1 on my favourite things about the Toyota Corolla is the fact that it is so photogenic. In my opinion, it's the most stylish car in this section of the hatchback market. Just makes me want to get a photo of it constantly, put it up on the Instagram. Number 2 is this little energy monitor. So on the infotainment system, you can see how much battery you have left. You can see if you're using the petrol engine or the battery. And actually down here, you can put it in EV mode, which basically puts it in permanent electric mode. Obviously, that's only going to work around town and for a certain amount of distance, but it's a nice little touch. And number 3 on my favourite things about the Toyota Corolla is the fact that it is the beginning of an epidemic. Now, this is a true petrolhead thing. However, this was the first car that came back, that resurrected from the dead. After this, the Toyota Supra came back. And now word on the street is that the chief engineers at Toyota have contacted Porsche to help them bring back and resurrect the M2. So it is the beginning of something beautiful. And there you have it. That is DoneDeal's review of the Toyota Corolla. Now, if you're looking for a car that looks fantastically stylish, that is extremely comfortable and a pleasure to drive, and also will probably last forever as it's got that Toyota logo, then this could be the car for you. However, that section of the market is fascinating with cars like the Golf, the Kia Ceed, and of course the Ford Focus. It's a tough decision to make, so let us know in the comments what you would choose, and thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next review.